And he's like, I even stopped the music, but she could tell I'm still thrusting to the rhythm in my head. I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I have nothing.
And then they're
I
trying to work out the mechanics of the thrust pattern that you would use with that song.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And the artist is even resharing their people's videos on their Twitter. So they're into it too, I guess.
I don't know what's better.
Apple Watch has a lot of cycle tracking stuff.
Ruh-roh.
With a big disclaimer, your cycle tracking data stays on your device and is encrypted when your phone is locked with a passcode.
Sure.
I mean, that's how a lot of the Apple stuff is, though. Like all the fingerprint and face shit.
But they'll give it away whenever anybody asks for it.
No, I mean they can't. That's what I'm saying, though.
Oh.
It's locked in the device.
Mhm.
Like your thumbprint doesn't go anywhere.
Well, and to be fair, there's lots of ways to track people's cycle. I saw some articles about such things.
Like a calendar.
Right.
I mean, Target's been known to like predict pregnancy and things like that.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a story. I mean, it's probably urban legend, but somebody was got an email from Target. It's like, based on your purchases, we think you get this, and it was like a bunch of pregnancy stuff. And the guy contacted Target because he's like, yeah, that's not possible. My wife's had her tubes tied or whatever, and it turned out it was they were using the red card for purchases for their teenage daughter, and it was accurate.
Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like, I mean, generally men can detect when women are ovulating.
Yeah.
There's that cool study that they did at the University of Mexico Santa Fe, where scientists observed over like 5,000 lap dances and the tips that strippers made giving them versus their phase of the menstrual cycle. And it sort of showed that they made a lot more tips when they were ovulating. It was a fun study that I've been trying to get replicated, but like no one wants to fund that research.
Yeah, right. Hey, Becca.
What are we talking about next week?
I'm down to talk about 3,000 Years of Longing, if that's possible.
I mean, I've already seen it, so it's very possible for me.
Yeah, women are hornier around ovulation too. The ovaries make a bunch of extra testosterone during ovulation. A bunch. They make more testosterone during ovulation. And, you know, testosterone, sexually motivating hormone.
Yep. So, Mitch, do you think you'll be able to swing 3,000 Years of Longing?
Sure. That's a lot of longing.
It is.
In this economy?
Right.
And, I mean, accurate? Spoiler? Spoiler, it's accurate.
I'll check it out.
All right. Next week's lockdown then. Let's just get this started. Hey, this is Tony.
Hey, this is Mitch.
And this is David.
And we are the Backseat Producers. And tonight we are going to discuss the film Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. Nope. David, what'd you think of the movie?
I liked this the least of Jordan Peele's 3 movies to date. I feel like there was some good stuff there, but like also either I missed a shit ton of stuff or there wasn't as layered as the other two.
Mitch, what did you think?
Yeah, yeah, I was missing the sort of like, I don't know, bigger social impact style commentary that I liked from Us in particular, and also Get Out. But I mean, I still liked it. But I would agree with that assessment of least favorite of the three. What about you?
I enjoyed it. Uh, I think the social impact part of it. I don't know if I'm just assuming it from what I was taking from it because I felt like there was something there, but I don't know if that's just because I've come to expect it, so I'm looking harder for it in his movies. Uh, but like I felt like there was something there, but I don't know if I was picking up what he was dropping down or if I was just making shit up, you know?
No, I felt like there's stuff there. It just wasn't as like meaningful to me, I guess.
Yeah,
As the other ones
yeah.
were.
Like I think the stuff in Get Out and Us was both subtle and heavy-handed,
hmm
and I don't feel like there was the complexity in this movie that there was in the other two.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely wasn't as heavy-handed.
It definitely was not as heavy-handed, and I feel like there's a lot of stretching you got to do to get to.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like us,
what are they? What are the things? Or do you want to like save that?
No, I don't see a reason to save it. I mean, for me, I thought it was more surrounding the commentary of the predator and not looking the predator in the eye
Oh,
and being made to turn your eyes away and not be confrontational because being confrontational is what gets you taken out.
this
Uh,
is not
I
what I
mean,
picked up.
what that's what I was picking up from it more from the aspect of uh, the police. You know, don't confront, don't look them in the eye, turn your eyes away, and just and avoid, and maybe you'll just get away by getting under the radar, which was
Oh,
the escape plan that they used. You know, at the end of the movie.
oh my.
I mean,
yeah, Tony.
that's where I ran with it, but
Oh, I
Tony, the
was on
most
a.
complicated thing I thought was that the thing looked like a cowboy hat.
it did look like a cowboy hat and a butthole,
Mhm.
but it mostly looked like a cowboy hat, which is probably the first thing it saw on Jupe's head.
Like, are you implying that he wanted to have sex with Jupe's head?
You wanted to suck it in.
I'm sorry that I made that sound.
Mute yourself,
Disgusting.
Mitch. You had that mute button set up for a reason.
Whoops, blowing it.
Mm.
I guess I thought about it like it was. I thought the commentary was on like sensationalizing and capitalizing off of things, right? Because all the stories surrounding the media and to like make money off of this, whether it was from like the guy who set up a whole crowd to like watch a thing and was sacrificing horses, or even the heroes who are trying to film it and capture it on camera to make like money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, at no point was there even a discussion of alerting any authorities.
Right. Or protecting people, or
Right.
like it wasn't even like a an idea that was floated.
No.
Because I feel like a missile. It didn't seem tough.
No.
It was just tough to like horses.
Right. Yeah. Some kind of incendiary missile.
Something.
Yeah.
But
Something that
flags
would just.
seem to hurt it some.
Right.
It's the true libertarian alien. So
Yeah.
I'll watch Daniel Kaluuya in just about goddamn everything.
Yes.
So what I did enjoy the movie, but mostly I enjoyed the movie for like the not social commentary aspect of it. Like even when I was trying to fit any of that in there, like I actually thought it was a pretty good alien movie.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it was still a fun movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It was creepy. It had a nice mystery to it.
Yeah.
The mystery was visually compelling, and I wonder if it will be as visually compelling on a television screen.
Mm.
Because like seeing that cloud not moving on the big screen, like you could see it, and it stood out. Especially, I mean, once they pointed to it, I did not notice it until they pointed it out. But then once they pointed it out, I could always see it. It was always there. It was always present. But I was also looking at a gigantic screen.
I don't know how much it. I mean, I saw it. I could never not see it after they pointed it out. But
Right.
also, I don't know that if I couldn't see it because the screen was small, that would make that big of an impact on my life.
I just wonder if it would seem like you have long stretches of them just looking at the sky.
Well,
It's
they
like a
do that.
screensaver. I mean,
Well, they do that.
yeah. Yep.
I thought the monster itself, like you said, like it is visually interesting, and its way it moves, and its internal workings, and how it, I guess, turns inside out. Like I do think all of that looked really great
Yeah.
and was impactful. Like when it's got a bunch of people screaming inside of it. It was pretty great.
Yeah, the little imagery and horror stuff was really good. Like the scene where it's barfing on the house,
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that was really good.
yep.
Or the opening where the dad dies,
Yeah. Yeah.
also excellent.
Well, I also think all the stuff on the set of the TV show, the sort of like other story that they sort of weave in there, I thought that
Yeah.
was creepy as hell.
It was. Yeah.
I also like how there wasn't much to that like B plot, but his willingness to just completely abandon the A plot and then do that for a while and then
Yeah.
come back from that was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh hey, here's this room. Let's do a flashback for this character who has like 20 lines in the whole movie.
Right.
A long one. A long flashback.
Well, and they do that bit where he like takes her on a tour of the room of the nostalgic memorabilia of the horrific events that surrounded that. And I'm just like, yeah, of course. Of course there's people obsessed with it, and of course he found a way to profit from it.
Sure. And of course she would be interested in that.
Right.
Like that was how they connected.
Because she also wants to like capture a thing.
Mhm.
And then they do also briefly show his like co-star when she's come out to see the show. She's got like the veil on her.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I kept seeing the imagery of that person in the trailer and in the TV spots. And I was
Mhm.
like, what the fuck is going on with that person? And when they said, "Oh, and we have a special guest here, my co-star," and it was like, "Oh, that's exactly
Oh
what
yeah.
that is." Like before they even showed it in the film, like I was already trying to place where that image was and why we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And before it showed up as I was watching it in the theater, it was like, "Oh, yeah,
Yep.
that's why we saw her, and that's why we're going to see her again in a minute."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought all of it was sort of worked to keep building tension and keep showing horror things, to switch back and forth between something that is like surprising and something that is disgusting and something that is scary, so that like you just keep raising up your sort of emotional state as you go through.
Yep.
And
Yep.
funny stuff throughout it too, which also works for raising that emotional state.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all the stuff with their tech support guy,
Yes. Yeah, I like that guy.
I think that made me laugh.
Yep. Apparently that guy was not written that way in the original draft of the script either.
Oh,
He was
nice.
written as more kind of this happy-go-lucky geek, and he came in with these ideas like he wanted to do more stuff and have this deeper arc for this character, and Jordan Peele ran with it.
I mean, it worked.
It did. It really did.
I also loved in the early bits, right, where he's brought the horse onto a set of like a commercial or something.
Hmm.
The chaos of the moments leading up to stop anything going on there totally felt real to me, right? Like there's a million people all trying to get a bunch of trains to get to the station at the same time, and everyone's concerned with their own little bit that they have to do. So like the animal safety guy has a really tough job to get everyone to stop fucking with the horse.
Yeah, I can
Everyone's got to fuck
imagine.
with the horse to get the shot also.
Yeah, but also don't fuck with the horse
Right.
because it is an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to jump around a little bit because
Yep.
it's hard to focus on a through line for this movie just because like there are moments that I think are worth talking about. But so we get to the end of the movie and she jumps on the motorcycle and she's trying to right the motorcycle and then jumps on it and takes off. And at that point, I'm like, what the fuck? Does she just know how to ride this motorcycle? But it was as we're leaving the theater, I remember during her monologue, that frantic monologue where she's describing everything she could do, she says, "I do motorcycles." And it was like, oh shit, it was there the whole time.
Yeah, I do think the writing in this was very clever, and
Yeah.
they connected lots of things again and again, including a very stupid like '90s TV show, like whatever it was, where they're around the wishing well. I even forget what it was. It was that guy's other show, not the one with the monkey
Yeah. Yeah.
or whatever. And like they keep throwing those things around. There's little references everywhere. That's why they
The reference to SNL. And
Yeah,
he's describing that scene, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, and Chris Kattan played the character. And it was like, of course Chris Kattan played that character. Like that just it's perfect. That's exactly what would have happened.
hmm yeah. So I did like all of that. I also sort of liked the way the mystery like unfolded, and each time you peeled back, it did explain, like for real, explain some stuff from before,
Mhm.
and sometimes without saying it, but still like showing it and like making it be explained. Like it's biological. It's eating things, so it can't eat quarters and or whatever, and so it spits all that stuff out. and it's not just falling, like it's spitting it out with force. Right? So, I don't know, I dug that. Because I was like, I don't feel like if you dropped a nickel out of a plane, it would pierce someone's head. So,
Right? Yeah. That key embedded in the horse's haunches.
Right. But the thing is ejecting them. These things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're being ejected.
Well,
Oh no.
no, I'm too tasty a morsel. I'm like half a horse.
I dug the plan and the execution of the plan to catch it on video. I thought that was all very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they presented the problem, and it was a long problem with a lot of complexities, then they came up with a plan. And I was like really in for the planning phase that felt like a goddamn heist.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And there were really good stakes and limitations on the technology and what they could and couldn't use, and they stuck by the rules. Like, they established rules for how this creature worked and how the electrical dampening field around it worked, and they didn't. I didn't notice anything where they broke the rules.
I guess I don't understand how electric motorcycles work. I guess I would have assumed when they stop being on, they just coast instead of like slam to a sudden stop.
Right?
Oh, battery's dead. Wow!
But that was hilarious.
It was.
I actually don't know. Because, like, it's not... Most electric cars don't coast.
Right. So, like, if you ran out of juice, would your car coast?
No, I don't think so.
A sudden stop. Like, if
I
you're going
don't-
60 and you run out of
No.
power, is it like you hit a wall?
I don't think it's like you hit a wall, but I don't think you're coasting. Like, you are definitely braking.
And now I want to see it. I want that in real life.
Does your car coast? Does your electric car coast if the battery runs out?
Right? Yeah. Can you coast?
Like,
down
it
a
would have
hill
been
with
fun
that
to see them,
charger?
like, because they had this ranch, if they had like a really old truck that they're driving, and like the radio stops working and the lights go out, but the truck itself would have
Mhm.
should have still kept going, because all the mechanics of it it's all mechanical. It's not electrical.
It's gonna have to be a really old truck, Tony.
Yeah.
A
Analog truck.
really old truck.
I mean, I guess they had horses. Those are like
They
old
did have
trucks.
horses, yeah. That got around the whole problem. It's just having the horses.
That was a good coincidence.
It was. I really liked the sequence where they were at the barn and the lights went out and the aliens popped up and were walking around. That was a really nice red herring, because we had no experience with what the aliens were at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were moving in kind of a creepy way, and like, that was good. Like, at no point did I not believe those weren't aliens. Like, I thought, all right, we're gonna get some first encounter
Right.
bullshit going on here.
And they did that, like, anticipation, surprise, creepy, funny, as they
Yep.
sort of
Mhm.
like build it
Yeah.
up. And I loved it.
Yep. Every scene where something happened and one of the two main characters is like, nope,
Mhm.
no,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
no, fuck this, no. I was 100% in for.
Yeah.
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 And like I know I talked about it earlier as the one of the bits was the idea that they're exploiting it for money, but I did really like it that instead of trying to kill the monster, their goal was to capture it on film,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
cryptid hunters.
Oh,
Cryptids.
So I've been kind of I was perusing the trivia before you guys jumped on, and I always love when they do little things like this. So at one point in the movie, Ricky, Stephen Yoon's character, states, "In 1 hour, you will leave here having witnessed a spectacle." There's exactly 1 hour until the film's end credits at that point.
Nice.
I don't really understand what his deal was. Like,
What do you mean?
presumably, he's having these shows where he's feeding this alien, and that's gone on for a while.
I think at least, since he started buying horses from the ranch, so I think he was buying the horses to feed the alien.
Yeah.
No, because there's several times where the alien flies away from his show thing, and it's very clear there are people inside of it. Because that's where the screaming people come from.
Oh, I thought that was only this most recent time.
I mean, at the very beginning of the movie, that stuff kills their dad.
Yeah.
That's where the coin and all the shit that it throws up comes from.
Oh, I guess I didn't think of that as like he was getting a bunch of people then, or maybe it was just like hunting off and about.
Because those people are coming from somewhere.
But he seemed like horrified that it was eating the people. He didn't seem like yay.
He didn't seem like he expected it to move quite the way it did either.
Well, I guess we don't know when this creature comes from. Like, is it a recent arrival on Earth?
Well, so
a recent active cycle of it?
the dad dies 6 months before the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's at least then.
So if it was just hunting regular, like getting the occasional hiker down by the reservoir or whatever, right? Things out and about.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that could explain like why it's dropping the stuff off now, the key, the etc. And then Ricky like spots it sometime or whatever, or he sees it eat a horse, so then he sees if he can like bait it and lure it back. And then when he can do that consistently, he invests and builds all this stuff, like goes all in for aliens.
Yeah, it felt like this was the first time he really did the big show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm just putting that on that or because he legitimately seemed surprised by the actions when they happened. Because he also did nothing to protect himself.
Yeah.
And his wife and kids.
Ooh.
Yeah, but those kids were awful, so fuck them.
Those kids were awful. But he made them that way.
Everybody makes every awful kid that way.
Well. So a few more things in the trivia. After Gordy, the chimp, finishes its rampage and he signs to young Ricky, he signs "What Happened to Family." Yeah. In Emerald's safety speech at the beginning of the film, she forgets a great when she says great 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 grandfather. It's because she was simply repeating the speech that her dad gave her. Because he wouldn't have had that many greats.
Sure.
The next generation would have. Let's see. Oh, they the characters Emerald and OJ are wearing green and orange.
Okay.
Uh,
I just don't feel like it was as sharp as the other two movies. Like, it was good and I enjoyed it, but it
Yeah.
wasn't nearly as pointed.
I think this one has the potential of more mainstream appeal than the other two do, because it's not quite as horrific in some ways.
Hmm.
Like Us has some really
Gosh,
horrific stuff that happens in it.
that's my favorite. I also thought it was very funny.
I thought it was really good. I thought all three were really good, but in very
Because
different ways.
fucking M'Baku's in it.
Well, that too.
That shit is gold. Everything that guy does is gold.
This was the first horror movie shot in IMAX.
Oh, it would have been neat to see in IMAX too.
Yeah.
Anything with giant vistas like that, I think looks cool.
I could see that.
Apparently, the nighttime stuff they shot during the day,
This filter.
and they did like weird IR filtering and layering to give which helped give the sky the really bizarre, creepy effect to it.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. There was one other thing that oh shit, what's his name? Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons was apparently attached to this movie at one point.
I like Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
He's got a dumb face.
He does. I could really see him playing the Ricky character.
Ricky.
Yeah, the Stephen
yeah.
Yeun's character,
Yeah.
the cowboy. I could see him playing that.
Yeah. Invincible. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Or even tech support.
Yeah.
Angel. So that IR shooting the night scenes during the day and then using an IR filter to change the stuff. Do you feel like that's a lot more work for something unnoticeable? Like, is there a element of filmmaking that's going to get lost? Because this feels like the same shit that they do for like Mando and all the stuff that Disney does for their live action shit now, where it's just one CGI studio thing. That thing you were telling me about, Tony?
Yeah. So the difference here, I think, is that they had to do a lot of CGI in the sky anyway. Like they were doing a lot of CGI with the alien, with the cloud. Like none of that's practical.
Yeah,
like
no,
that's all going to be that's all going to be CGI anyway. I don't feel like
there's no
compositing. I mean, you're compositing images, which isn't really. It's no more CGI than Star Wars was. Like
Tony, Star Wars was nothing but CGI.
What? I'm talking A New Hope.
Tony, you gotta fucking specify, man.
I did.
6 of 9 episodes.
No, because for me, that one is just Star Wars.
Wow. That feels grossly inaccurate.
I mean, depending on how old you are.
Yeah.
They changed it. They changed it to add A New Hope.
I know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just it's no more complex than stuff they were doing in the 70s. Compositing images.
Oh.
I mean, then they do all the CGI for the aliens, but
yeah.
Well, I bet it's a lot easier to shoot in the day, just because of the logistics.
For practical things.
Well, I mean, you also had the motion cap chimpanzee.
Mhm. Is that Andy Serkis? Or...
Yeah, probably.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Andy Serkis. Actually, it was.
Oh, he was the cloud.
Yeah, he was the cloud.
He was that guy's
Terry
camera.
Notary,
Mm.
who is also
Some made-up person.
he played Rocket in the rebooted Planet of the Apes trilogy and Kong in Kong Skull Island.
He's got a groove.
Does those apes?
Tony, you sound like you're in a wind tunnel.
Is that me?
Oh, maybe it's me.
It's Mitch. It was
What's
Mitch.
Mitch?
Oh boy. It's this fan.
Those are necessary.
It is.
I was worried it was my fan here.
I'll do this. That'll help, right?
Okay, so the sequence that I'm talking about. So I'm gonna read a little box text here. Most of the night
Use the box
sequences,
text voice.
most of the night sequences, specifically those shot out in Haywood's Field, were actually shot in the day with a complex rig built by cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytma. Now, if there's a fucking made up name, that's it.
Hoyt van Hoytma.
Hoyt van Hoytma. I am not even kidding.
That's my next character name.
Hoyt van
Hoyt
Hoytma.
van Hoytma.
These scenes were shot with a normal 5-perf 70mm Panavision film camera and a digital ARRI Alexa 65 camera modified with the IR filter removed from the sensor to make it sensitive to infrared light, rigged up in a 3D camera rig so they were set to take the same image at once.
Sure.
Similar to how Van Hoytma shot the lunar chase sequence in Ad Astra. These two images, I haven't seen that yet. It's still on my DVR, I think, from its original appearance on cable. These two images were then composited together to give the night sequences their unique look. In fact, most of these sequences are opened up for IMAX, but they were actually shot in normal 5-perf 70mm film in a 2.20 by 1 aspect ratio and were digitally expanded upon in post. This was done for two reasons. One, there is no digital camera as of yet whose sensor is as big as IMAX film. So the two cameras wouldn't match up perfectly.
Mhm.
And two, the skies were already going to be completely digitally replaced for the effect sequences. So that information would have been useless to the filmmakers anyway.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Okay,
that's
so
that.
a recurrent theme of the movie is that you can't tame a predator.
Yep.
All right. So this is what this the IMDb trivia. A recurrent theme is that you can't tame a predator, and mankind will risk everything for a spectacle. Jupe exploited the Gordy's home massacre for profit, and similarly thought he could tame the creature for a show business opportunity. Jupe's survival of the chimpanzee attack gave him the mistaken impression that he could tame an alpha predator, who are often unpredictable.
Well, the last action of Gordy was the fist bump.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that at some point we were going to see Gordy get splattered.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew it was coming. But that fist went out, and I heard Julie go, "Oh," and then
Oh no.
the
Boom.
the unfortunate sounds that came out of her when
Unfortunate.
Gordy's brain splattered all over the underside of the table there. the table runner, whatever that was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the shoe still spinning or standing.
Standing. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was going to be some point to that other than it was just an oddity that he focused on.
In an interview with Dazed, Jordan Peele confirmed that the design of the creature in the final act was influenced by the angels in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
It did look like an angel.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that, so I don't know. I
You're
will have to
missing out.
take your word for it.
You know, it starts really good, Tony. It's got
Yeah,
a lot of
pretty good.
promise, and then in the middle it gets good, stays good, and then the end starts to get a lot weirder in a way that I'm actually kind of into.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets weird.
Yep. And then there's the finale.
Then there's the finale.
But everything up till then I loved.
Mm-hmm. It just felt like there was a lot of setup for something that we just abandoned.
Yeah. And I thought it might have been like a money thing. And maybe it was. But then they came back and they redid it with like more money and it was just as bad.
Mm-hmm. If not worse, because that was their second attempt,
Right.
and they should have known better.
Yeah.
Like, if you fuck it up once, that's fine, and then you get a do-over. The do-over can't be as bad.
Or worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what happened with Fantastic Four. Fanforstic.
Mm-hmm.
I choose not to engage on that.
Let's try again.
Midway through the movie, OJ, Emerald, and Angel dine at Copperpot's Cove. The fictional restaurant is also featured in Us and is named after Chester Copperpot, the treasure hunter whose map Mikey and the gang follow to the treasure of One-Eyed Willie in the film The Goonies.
You guys, Chester Copperpot. It's nice.
I think
And-
I've only seen that movie once, and I don't even think I've seen the whole thing.
What, the Goonies?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Goonies
I've seen
never
more
say
of that
die.
movie than I have Big Lebowski. Oh, another movie which I have never finished.
Oh.
Twice I've tried to watch that movie and fallen asleep both times. Once on Luke.
That doesn't seem like a bad way to watch it.
No.
Asleep. I had a dream that I watched Inception. Which is probably the right
Wow.
way to watch that movie.
I really like Inception.
I don't think it was as good as Interstellar, but I did like them both a lot.
I
Whoa.
do like both of them.
Yeah, I liked both. I think Inception's probably the one I like better.
Mm.
I really enjoyed the that I could watch a van fall into a river for like 45 minutes and still be excited about it.
I mean, the soundtrack is very good.
But also still understand exactly why it mattered that it took 45 minutes to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, dug it.
Also watching that movie almost helps explain Primer
Mm.
just a little.
Mm. I have a notebook with like 17 timelines that I tried to draw out what was going on in Primer.
Every time I watch Primer, I have to watch it like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we don't go back and watch Primer, kids.
Mm-hmm.
I will go back and watch Primer regularly. But also it's what, like 37 minutes long. It's like an hour 10, hour 15. It's not a long movie.
Mm-mm. They did a lot with that.
Yeah.
I went to see Inception in a theater a second time,
Mm.
solely for the purpose of hearing people groan at the final shot. I just like loved the mass disappointment that people had in the theater. It just tickled me. So I wanted to go back and recapture that feeling.
I hated that shit.
I liked it.
Hated it.
I liked it.
Pick a fucking lane, Chris.
I also like the way Sopranos ended, though. So
I never watched that show.
Yeah, me neither.
I know that people
that
were
was one of my
upset about it.
pandemic rewatches.
I liked Interstellar, but the main thing I wanted was I wanted to know more about drone hacking. Like, that seems plausible.
I wanted more of Michael Caine reading the same line from that Dylan Thomas poem, but just that one line over and over again. That's what I wanted.
Is Michael Caine ever read an audiobook? Is he a reader?
I
I
don't
do like
know.
Michael Caine's
Ooh.
voice. I would definitely like listen
So,
to
what
that
are your
thing.
thoughts on Tenet then?
You and I talked about it. I assume you're asking Mitch.
Oh,
Yeah.
I liked Tenet. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a visual feast. It was lots of fun to see all the things, and then like to try to like piece out what's happening, like to try to re-edit the movie to make it make sense from a different perspective
Yeah.
in my head. Like I love
Okay.
it. I love that. Oh,
Okay. Michael Caine has narrated several audiobooks, including the ones he's written, such as Michael Caine, What's It All About? An autobiography.
all right.
Michael
Sorry.
Caine, Blowing the Bloody Doors Off, and Other Lessons in Life, which I think is also an autobiography.
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, the first one he just didn't think he had much left, but
The Elephant to Hollywood. I don't know that he. Yeah, nope, he wrote that one too. That one's a long one. This Blowing the Bloody Doors Off came out in 2018.
Wow.
When did What's It All About come out? 1992.
well, that was his autobiography.
That's.
Ooh. He didn't
Had to
think he
write
had that
two
much
more
time.
updates. So, the answer is yes. He does do audiobook narration.
I'll listen to that. I
Apparently,
also listened to a Keith David audiobook.
I'd listen to a Keith David audiobook.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, he read some of the Gargoyles fan fiction.
Oh, here's a fun little piece of trivia for this movie. The voice of the TMZ journalist on the electric motorbike was provided by one Mr. Nicolas Cage.
What?
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
I
did think the voice
either.
sounded familiar. Dude, come on. There's
Bitchin'
Romeo. Get out of here.
technology.
We were at a bar for Libya's birthday, and they had a VCR with a bunch of VHS, and we put on goddamn Con Air.
Nice. I once wore a woman's head as a hat through 3 states. It's the line I remember from Con Air.
That's not the only one I ever remember is you don't treat women like that.
Yep.
I honestly can't say I remember a whole lot about that movie. I know I've seen it, but
Not even Nicolas Cage's flowing locks.
well, I mean, anytime that movie gets mentioned, you see those. That's just.
What about Cole Meany?
Mm-hmm.
Chief O'Brien's car getting towed through the air.
Jesus.
We did not finish the movie. This is just what I remember from the last time I watched it 10 years ago.
Hey, well, let's talk about it next week. No, wait, we're doing 3,000.
Yeah, we got something already.
We'll pull things from the archive.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, me neither, man. It was like a good movie, but
Mhm.
I just don't feel like it's an Us or a Get Out conversation.
Mhm.
I thought Kiki Palmer was delightful as Emerald.
Yeah, all of the performances were like tip top, right?
Mhm.
I think it's good for their talent, and I think good on the director to like pull all those performances together in the way they did, because I think as big as some of those personalities were, they didn't seem to step in front of each other or on each other through it. Even when we brought in like creepy filmmaker guy, like to be around, like I thought he nailed his place where he should be. I felt, yep, that's yeah, I've seen that guy film documentaries, right?
Yeah, like, and the easy stunt casting thing would have been to bring in somebody more famous for that role, because it's such a small role, and that guy is just such a character. But I think doing that would have distracted
Mhm.
from what that guy was supposed to be doing and what everybody else was doing.
And then
I also really liked the relationship between the brother and sister. I felt it felt well written, and it felt like those two were in weird and different places with the death of their father, but like I I never felt like they weren't earned or honest performances, you know?
Yeah, they weren't real people.
Yeah.
I do appreciate a sibling rivalry as a sort of tension element in a plot.
Yeah. Because you can be like both loving and terrible to your sibling, and then just let's go have a beer. You know, like
I'm gonna have to drive my brother down to my parents' house for Christmas this year, and I will strangle him because he will talk the full 8-hour drive.
so whatever happened to his Japanese girlfriend? Are they still together?
They are researching immigration law.
Whoa.
Alrighty then.
I believe she'll be back then.
So you get to drive both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You need to have like one of those taxi cab walls installed just to mute them out, like let them just hobble together a conversation in broken English and Japanese in the back seat.
Yeah, I gotta start my Duolingo for Japanese now.
You know what this is a job for? Esperanto.
Yes, let's add a third language no one speaks.
It's 2 million speakers. This is fine.
No, I meant no one in the car speaks.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, they could all learn that real quick. I remember when it was, as a child, I learned that there were families that didn't talk the whole time they were driving. And it really freaked me out. The first time I got in a car and someone insisted on listening to music, I'm like, why? I'm here. Like, this seems weird. And more recently, I had to go on a road trip with a colleague. So it was like 2 hours. And we get in the car, and she's like, I've got this Hamilton soundtrack. I hear it. It'd be good to listen to. I'm like, yeah. And I set it down. She's like, what? Oh. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk. So it probably was terrible.
I will, if I go on long trips with someone, I will bring my AirPods and put them in,
Oh my gosh.
but I won't say anything about it. I'll just let that stand. And then it's usually too uncomfortable for somebody to be like, hey, have a conversation with me. So then it wins.
So you want quiet driving?
Mm-hmm. My A plus is that I drive by myself because I want a spiritual experience.
Of the driving.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I like driving.
Uh, about 80% of the time when I'm in the car, I'm either by myself or it might as well be by myself because my passenger is asleep or has headphones in.
Oh man, I like chatting. When I used to
It
drive,
depends. I mean, it's normally it's Julie and I, and we talk all the time anyway. So, and she either like wants to read a book or something like that, which is fine because then I can turn on my music and sing along to it the whole time. The kids are in the backseat with their headphones on. Now, if I'm headed down to pick up Holden, I'll uh, I'll probably be by myself, so I'll listen to a podcast or an audiobook, and then on either on the way to take him to school or on the way bringing him back, we'll chat most of the way, just because it's a
Yeah.
catch up. Yeah, it's a catch up conversation that we haven't had in a while. Just finding out what's going on with him and his hearing what the college tea is, so they can spill that about
Mhm.
friends and roommates of friends, and because boy, there's nothing like a hot mess of 20-year-olds that don't know what fucking life means to just to hear how terrible they all are to each other and about each other because they just don't get it, which is
oh yeah,
it's just amusing as a 50-year-old to listen to these stories.
I went to this anime conference in St. Louis, CocoraCon, a couple weekends ago, and I went to one of the workshops, and it was cosplaying on a budget. I was like, oh yeah, sounds like the way I would do it.
Mhm.
But they were some young folks running the thing, and they were cosplay enthusiasts, and they were very enthusiastic. But the tips they were giving would be like the tips that you need to give a 17-year-old. So, like, if you want something more, like this was one of the tips. If you want something more expensive, try saving for it.
What?
End of tip. Right,
That's not a tip.
right.
That's not how tips work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for a 17-year-old,
Oh my god.
Right, because they don't know how any of it works.
get a job.
Instead of eating out, 5 to 9 times a week, I'm like, okay,
Just eat whatever your mom's made for you.
Yeah,
essentially was their plan.
yeah.
Try
Ask
to buy
your
things
parents-
on sale.
Yeah, ask your parents for money, and then don't spend it on what you were supposed to spend it on,
Mhm.
and don't eat, and then
That's
just
how-
eat at home.
That's how I bought D&D books in high school. Was instead of eating lunch, I would buy supplemental D&D books.
Yep. I had an allowance. It's about once a month I could buy a D&D book.
Wizards of the Coast is in trouble for their latest thing with Spelljammer.
Yeah, I heard they had a race that is effectively slaves and they're monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
And I think, and again, not really the person who is targeted for this offense, but another aspect of it that I thought was particularly egregious is that they were captured and enslaved by wizards, but then other wizards were the ones who saved them and set them free. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that tracks.
Uh, This is yet another apology. They've done a lot over the past few years.
I mean,
Listen, it's not as egregious as Black Elves.
God damn it. Black elves, black dwarves.
The episode of Community that you can't
Mhm.
watch on wherever it's streaming on right now.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Amazon.
Amazon, I think, is the one you can buy it on. The one with Chang in his dark elf cosplay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about this hate crime?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Rings of Power, where all the neckbeards are offended that there are people of color playing hobbits and dwarves and elves.
I have decided not to watch Rings of Power or House of the Dragon.
That's your choice. I'm
And
enjoying
then
both of them.
I instantly saw people upset about Black Elves, and I was like, man, fucking nerds are the goddamn worst.
Yeah, yeah.
The
No,
fucking worst.
I saw something earlier today where somebody was going off on uh, uh, a black person playing a hobbit, a Harfoot, because they're not hobbits, they're Harfoots, which are one of the 3 types of hobbits there are.
Move it
Because it goes
along,
farther back.
Silmarillion. Move it
Yep,
along.
yep. Well, and somebody was like, "Oh, well, my problem isn't the fact that they cast a person of color. My problem is the fact that it goes against the author's original intent, that the author intended these people to be this way, and it goes against the author's intent. And I'm just invoking the purity of the author's intent." To which then Neil Gaiman commented, and he's like, "Well, actually, the Harfoots, which are the race of hobbits that are in this show, were described as browner than other hobbits. So maybe check maybe go reread Lord of the Rings, because this is literally in Lord of the Rings."
There are there are instances where you can't change the racial composition of a person playing a character because it doesn't work. Like a black dude has to play Fred Hampton. A black dude has to play Fred Hampton. You can't cast another racist Fred Hampton because it was a real person and it actually matters that he was a black dude because that matters.
Right.
None of that matters in literally any story that's in Lord of the Rings. This shit
Exactly.
does not matter.
Nope.
It's
Not even a
fucking
little.
wild that people have to put this thin veneer on their racism of
Yep.
literary purity.
Yeah.
And even if it had been Tolkien's intent, like I wouldn't feel the need to
Don't
honor
give a
that.
shit. Yeah.
No.
He intended to be racist, so we have to honor that.
No.
It's not a good
No.
argument either.
No.
Which, as it turns out, was not his intent.
Also, that dude didn't read any of these fucking books anyway.
No.
A lot more people have read a lot less people have read the Silmarillion than people will tell you have read the Silmarillion. Because that shit is fucking boring.
I own a copy of the Silmarillion. I own the audiobook of the Silmarillion that I haven't read yet. But I'm going to, because I will do it in audio.
How long have you had it?
I got a bunch of books because I was about to I think it's been 2 months, just because I had to buy like 6 books at once because of running out of time on my credits. So I've got like 6 books at once.
Hey Siri, remind me next year to check in with Tony about reading the Silmarillion.
Okay.
Okay, your reminder is set for the 1st of January 2023.
Oh.
Check in with Tony about reading the Somalian. Close enough.
Close enough. Perfect.
I will not remember what that means. And I'm probably gonna assume that it's like read the Somalian like tea leaves.
Right.
So be prepared for some weird questions.
No, that's fine. I will have answers for you. I did just finish Sea of Rust, which was a suggestion we got from Eric. He gave us a couple of suggestions. That was one of them.
I like
it. Evan Eric?
Huh? Yeah.
Wait, Evan Eric?
Yeah. The last time he was on, he gave us a couple of books that he suggested. That was one, and there was another one. And I've read both of them, and they're good.
Yes, I think C. Robert Cargill wrote.
Yes.
From Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really dug that book.
I enjoyed it. I literally just finished it today.
Yeah.
Well, I dug it.
I hope I'd watch an adaptation of that.
Yeah. I can see that being an animated adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It would be fun and trippy,
You do a whole
especially when she starts glitching.
right.
That would be pretty cool.
Like you do that as a whole season of Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah,
I'd take it.
yeah. Or you just serialize it over many seasons of Love, Death, and Robots. I would
There's
be
plenty of little
perfectly fine
vignettes
with
from
that.
it.
Yeah, I'd be for. I mean, I look at Love, Death, and Robots like the old heavy metal magazine,
Yeah.
where you had a bunch of, it had anthology style storytelling, but there were always one or two stories that were serialized across multiple
Hmm.
issues.
Yeah, that'd work. The first time I tried to read the Silmarillion, I was in the late '90s. I was coding areas for a MUD that was Tolkien themed. Back when internet gaming was text based.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I was part of quite a few muds, mucks, mushes, and muses.
Woo!
Jesus
Oh,
fucking
the
Christ.
glory days of typing and typing and typing and typing.
The
Mhm.
glory days of virginity.
Yep.
Oh, hey, that's. I mean, yeah.
That's how, you know what? That's how you stopped being a virgin,
Well,
because you found other virgins who wanted you also not be virgins.
mhm. Yeah, and then you typed out clumsy things with them.
Mm.
Yeah, so I tried to read it then, and it was so tough to get through any of this. And so then I just bought Middle Earth role playing books from the
Oh, yeah.
that was like
Yeah.
based off the Rollmaster system, and I just
Mhm.
read that for lore because it was
That
better
works.
written than the Silmarillion.
Yep. No, that works. I mean, I'll be honest, that it took me 3 attempts to read Lord of the Rings over the course of probably 6 or 7 years. Like I couldn't get into it. And then once I did, I enjoyed it. I read the whole thing.
Oh yeah. Now it really captured me. I remember like Two Towers. I was in 7th grade, and I was just like beside myself in tears, thinking that Frodo was dead. Spoiler
Oh.
alert: he wasn't.
Oh,
But I was just whoa. My avenue towards it was the Rankin and Bass Hobbit cartoon.
same.
Hmm.
Yeah, where there was The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and Return of the King.
Right, and I hadn't
Yeah.
seen those ones. I'd only seen The Hobbit.
Oh, I saw all 3 of them.
I tracked them down later.
Yeah. At some point, I owned all 3 of them on VHS.
Ooh. Yeah, I love that.
There
I
was-
love The Hobbit and
what
Flight
is
of
the-
Dragons.
Oh shit! What's the other book? There's another series of books that starts off pretty much the exact same way that Lord of the Rings does, with like
Yeah.
some dude being chased by things that are like ring wraiths, and
Is it, gosh, Elf Quest? That's not right.
no,
It's something like that, though.
it was something that was like mid to early 80s. It was a series of fantasy novels, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I had experience with that before I read Lord of the Rings. So that like broke my brain.
Sword of Shannara.
That's it. Yep.
That's the one.
Yep.
I think I started that and then got like half an hour into the audiobook and I was like, nope,
Yeah.
out of this bad boy.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's how I was with Dragonlance too. I was like, oh, this is every fucking D&D trope just jammed all into a book.
Out. And
Well, yes.
it is because that's what it was.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it was one of those things that it doesn't age well because
Mhm.
those things became tropes because of it. A lot of
Sure.
them did. A lot of them did.
Sure.
Oh gosh, I got way far into the Wizard's First Rule series of books. whew, I don't remember. It's maybe book 4 or 5. I'm just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It became torture to read. I should have known from the beginning.
Yep.
Fantasy. It's tough to find the good stuff.
It is tough to find the good stuff.
And then good unfinished series seems to be the way it goes.
Now, speaking of Terry Brooks, I did enjoy Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold.
I never did anything else after the Shannara.
Yeah. Well, this was. I mean, I read. I think I read most of the first book, but it was like I was borrowing it from a friend, and he's like, "Hey, can I get my book back?" And I was halfway through it. I was like, "Sure, here you go." And like I never went back to it. But like the cover of this one caught my eye when I was just trolling B. Dalton, and so I got that one.
It's not as offensive as Joe Goddamn Abercrombie. Fuck that guy.
Oh, wait, which one's I read 3 of those of his things. Gosh. The blade
Yes.
itself, maybe?
The blade itself,
Yeah.
with Logan Nine Fingers.
That's the one. Yeah, I read those 3.
Fuck that guy.
You were not into it.
The third book in the trilogy,
Oh.
okay, there's about 100 pages left, and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff to wrap up in this bad boy. This is going to be an interesting ride. Nope. Just doesn't wrap it up, and then he's done.
Yep.
Fuck that guy. And my brother's like, did you read his second trilogy? And I'm like, is it a continuation of the first trilogy? He's like, no, but it references some stuff in there. And I was like, then no. Like, fuck no. He's not drawing me in anymore. Not sucking me in.
Oh, I liked those characters, but you're right. Like he doesn't wrap it up. I'm okay with sloppy endings.
There wasn't an ending.
Stop. I'm just not going to tell you more of this story.
Yeah, no, I'm done. What? You had a conflict. An unaddressed conflict.
I think the last time I seriously enjoyed reading fantasy was Dennis McKiernan stuff.
I don't know that.
He wrote he wrote it all in one world, and it was very much a Middle Earth analog. But his elves and hobbits and all that were just a little bit different, but they're all just elves and dwarves and hobbits. But just the way he told stories was a little more interesting to me, and it was probably just the period of my life I was in. But he did this cool thing where he'd like, all right, here's a single novel, and this is the story. Here's a duology, and this is the story. Here's a trilogy, and this is the story, and that's it. But they'd all be set in the same world. But he would do interesting things like he'd tell this story, and he's like, at some point he'd reference some legend of something that happened, and like how meaningful it was, and he'd tell a story about it. And his next duology would be the story of that legend, but it would not be what you'd expect because it was 150 years before the story you just read, and like people didn't have the actual facts of what happened, or they
that's fun.
conflated things, or so like you knew at a high level what was going on, but then it would be like, yeah, that's not at all what happened. But it's 150 years later, and people are just passing this story on through oral histories, so they don't get all the details right. So that kind of stuff was fun.
Yeah, I dig that. I like the Way of Kings of Brandon Sanderson thing. I think it starts a series. I have not read anything beyond its first book, but I like the stuff that's going on in that one.
It's planned to be a 10-book series.
Whew, it's a lot of books.
The last book was 60 hours long.
Oh,
and I
wow.
shit you not, Brandon Sanderson has this deal where like he builds these super intricate magical systems in his world.
Yeah.
He's very proud of them. And so then like I think he wanted to be an engineer, so he goes real deep into like pointless applications of his magic. Like in the last uh series of that book series, the name of which I can't remember,
Mhm.
he has a full hour's worth of text on using his magic system to make an elevator. And it just drags
Yeah.
on and fucking on
Oof.
and on because he just won't get to a goddamn point. Like half the book is seriously unnecessary bullshit.
Oh, that for me that felt like reading Patrick Rothfuss's book.
Oh, I
But the
love that
book isn't that
unnecessary.
long.
No, but it felt like it. When he starts, like, I'm listening to this and it was like, did you want to be a chemist? And it's like, oh, he was a chemist. I'm like, oh, that explains everything that I just read and how excruciating it was.
Oh, I
Yeah,
loved all that. I was like, "Yee, tell me
yeah, I was
more."
also fine with that. I thought there was just a significant amount of lazy writing, like, and then Kvothe learned sex from a sex goddess, so he's fucking
Yeah.
great at fucking. Okay, this is fucking
Yeah.
weird.
Well,
Yeah.
it's my hope that it's just him telling that story, and he's just trying to build himself up. Like, none of that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, like that's how he picks up chicks in bars. He's like,
Right.
oh, no,
I
this
want
is real
sex from
happen.
sex goddess.
Yeah.
That probably works.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Damn, what is the name of that fucking series? Radiance?
Oh, Stormlight
Oh,
Archives,
Stormlight Archive. There it is.
maybe.
Damn.
Yeah.
The thing is, Sanderson's got some like Mistborn was good.
Mhm.
I didn't read the second Mistborn trilogy, but like he finishes Mistborn. He actually wrote a Supers trilogy called The Reckoners.
Hmm.
The first book is Steelheart, and it's those three books are actually really good. They're like a modern day Supers situation. Only all the Supers are evil. There
Oh.
are
Oh,
no good Supers.
that seems like I could get into.
Yeah, and so it basically just follows this human team that is killing bad soups.
Oh, it's the boys.
It is the boys, only there's no good soups.
Nice.
And it actually finishes, pretty well.
I like the weirdo like science fantasy adventures from the past. Like I liked Princess from Mars and all that sort of series.
I fuck it. John Carter is in my top 5 movies, man. I
Yeah, it
fucking
was
love that
fun.
movie.
It was just badly marketed.
It's just
Yep.
a damn shame I'm not gonna get more of it.
Hmm.
Love that shit.
But I liked those books when I was a kid, and then I read some. So after looking for those, I was looking for other science fantasy. I got some the Gore books, and that was not good for me as a teen.
The Gore books
Yeah, the GOR.
Yeah, those books are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
sounds fucking
It's a lot of
terrible.
like BDSM stuff.
Yeah, there are whole like cabals of BDSM
Yeah.
that are based on the Gore books, and they're just terribly written.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wandered into a Gore mush one time, and it was like, what is this all about? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like,
What the fuck is this all about, Tony?
yeah. So then I like and like everybody was raving about these books, and then I found out there were like 20 books or something. I'm like, huh, okay, well, somebody must have liked this at some point if this is there. I think like, and I physically went and picked up a paperback copy from a used bookstore. And fortunately, I paid like a quarter for it because I read about 20 pages of it and literally just tore it at its spine and threw it in the trash. It was like, this is such garbage. No one should read this. Like, that book was terrible.
Yeah. I just looked it up now. There were 25 books in 1988, but they've written 12 more since 2001.
That tracks. That tracks. Because it would have probably been in like the early 90s that I learned about this for the first time.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, they're not good. But then like science fantasy, like the fifth season, the N.K. Jemison's stuff, I really love that.
I got really maybe last year or whatever it was. I drove to California. What was that? 2020? Must have been 2020. I had started Terry Mancourt's Spellmonger books, and there's like a million of them, and they're like good enough to keep going. And that's apparently the new level for me.
Oh gosh, what's that series? It's like 10 books. They're fantasy. They have a deep history. So based on a dude's D&D campaign.
There's so many of those.
Garden of the Moon is maybe the first one. Does that sound right?
Oh, the Malazan.
Yeah, that's the one. Malazan.
Steven
Luke
Erickson.
recommended that, and I got like half an hour in, and I was like, "Fuck this!"
So I was audiobooking those, and I liked the first two enough to like, yeah, I'll keep going. But like they changed narrators in the third or fourth book, and he changes the way he pronounces the words. And then
Oh, I
fantasy
hate
world, there's so many. Oh, I was like, I'm out.
None of that, sir. None of
Nope.
that.
Nope. Nope.
Liked it well enough till then. Well, speaking of nope, I liked it all right.
Nope
There's
is good.
seriously 15, 14 books in this series, and I don't think he's ever going to get to the end, but he just keeps churning these books out. Seriously, this one came out November 16th. The next one came out February 1st.
What
Well-
are you talking about?
The Spellmonger series.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's
And
not
what'd you say?
bad.
Terry Mancourt?
Terry Mancourt.
It's a great name.
That's not his real name.
Rex Mantooth.
I'm pretty sure it is his real name. Book 11 came out 6/16/20. Book 12 came out 12/01/20. The dude can just churn these things out. And they're not short books either. This one's 25 hours.
Oh my gosh, the covers look terrible.
They do look terrible. Terry Mancourt does have like, dude does kind of look like a wizard though.
I'm seeing that now. Yeah.
He's leaning into it. Oh gosh, there are so many.
There's so many.
Recommended reading order.
Book 11.5. Book 12.5.
Oh no.
Hawk Lady.
Hawk Lady sounds like a great book. All right, I'm back in.
I saw that movie.
Nice.
Rutger Hauer was so good in it, though.
Get the fuck out. I'm probably gonna go back and finish these. I stopped reading it because
The real hero of that movie was the synth soundtrack, though.
Jesus fucking.
Soundtracks were a little bit off the wall back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I
The
mean,
last
like
argument
occasionally.
came from fucking Joe Abercrombie. I'm looking through my Audible list just to.
You were not having it.
Mm-mm.
See, now that I think about it, I wonder if I did get Silmarillion or if I was just waiting for that to go on sale before I use a credit on it.
Here it is, and this is why on January 1st.
See, now I'm going to need to commit to getting it if I don't already have it.
I mean, you can
I
not read
do.
it and not have it, or not
do
read
have
it and have it, and the result is the same.
I have it.
I'm going to read it after I finish Infinite Jest.
Is that like 183 hours?
It's just no one ever has read it.
It's fucking infinite.
People claim they read it, but probably not.
That book's on. I saw a listing of books people claim to have read but haven't, and that was way up on the list.
Oh yeah, there's a whole like blog that you can go through with it, which sort of like helps you read each chapter because it's so involved.
Mhm.
Pass.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, that sounds fun until like chapter 2. I'm like, no, I'm done.
It didn't sound fun.
Mhm. Look at all this
Yep.
work.
Let's see. I've got a couple of series that I'm working on. I've got the Homer box set, Iliad and the Odyssey.
You didn't have to read those in
Oh.
school.
I have. I just wanted to reread it because it's been so long.
I
Do you
read.
know how long it's been since I've been in school? It's been a while.
I read the Iliad in college and undergrad for a mythology course or an ancient literature course, and we're reading it, and at some point I asked a question about something or other from like Battle of Troy or whatever, and the professor's like, "What? No, you're not supposed to understand this." I was like, "What?" And it's like, you haven't lived enough life to understand most of the things that they're writing about here. You just need to read it and remember it so that later when you're at a cocktail party you'll be like, "Ah, that's what they were talking about."
That's really strange.
It was so weird. Right? He's like, "Don't try to read this for understanding. It's about the human condition and you're not human enough yet to really connect with that."
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It was a wild course. Dude looked like Zeus.
I was
Russell
walking around
Crowe?
shirtless.
I mean, he could have. I was into it just because he had this booming voice and like square beard and everything, and I'm like, all right. I
Yep.
guess I'll just read it because you said to. Von Furman, that was his name.
Jesus. Hoyt van Hoytma.
Hoyt van Hoyt.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, we did it. All right, catch y'all next week.
See you next week for 3,000 Years of Longing.
Mm-hmm.